The Bible tells us that Jesus grew up in a small town called Nazareth. In fact, he's often referred to as Jesus of Nazareth. But here's a question you may have never considered. Did Nazareth even exist in the time of Jesus? It sounds strange, even blasphemous to some, but this has been a real and ongoing debate among historians and archaeologists. Let's dig into the evidence. For centuries, Christians have accepted Nazareth as the hometown of Jesus without question. But when archaeologists began exploring ancient Galilee, something didn't add up. For a long time, there was no archaeological evidence that a town called Nazareth existed during the early 1st century, the time Jesus was alive. In fact, Nazarite isn't even mentioned in any Roman maps, Jewish records, or ancient writings from that era. Major historians of the 1st century, like Josephus, who wrote extensively about Galilee, never mention it. Even the Talmud, which lists dozens of towns in the region, leaves Nazareth out. So what's going on here? Some skeptics argued that Nazareth might have been a literary invention, a symbolic name rather than a real place. They believed early Christians may have created Nazareth to fulfill Old Testament prophecies, specifically the line in Isaiah that says, "He shall be called a Nazarene." But the story doesn't end there. In the last few decades, archaeology has begun to uncover real evidence of a small settlement in what is now modern-day Nazareth. In 2009, archaeologists discovered a 1st century house, along with pottery and tools dated to the time of Jesus. Later excavations found rock-cut tombs, terraces, and storage pits, all pointing to a small rural village. Based on current findings, scholars estimate that Nazareth was a tiny agricultural hamlet, likely home to no more than 200 to 400 people. It wasn't a city, it wasn't famous. It was remote, poor, and forgettable, which actually makes sense. In the Gospel of John, one of Jesus' future disciples even asks, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" That line only makes sense if Nazareth was a place of low reputation or obscurity. So, was Nazareth real? Yes, most likely, but it wasn't a bustling town or cultural center. It was a small backwater village, so insignificant that no major writer even thought to mention it. And that's what makes Jesus' story so compelling. That someone from such a forgotten place could spark a movement that changed the world is part of the paradox at the heart of Christianity. So next time you hear Jesus of Nazareth, remember, the town was real, but probably smaller, poorer, and more obscure than most people imagine. In our next episode, we'll look at something equally surprising. Were Jesus' followers really just poor fishermen? Or was there more to their story than we've been told? Subscribe for more history, archaeology, and deep dives into the life behind the legend.